people of YouTube, my name is JD Shadow, and you probably have seen this person a good bit on my videos. Hi, Gaylor Moon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this fine summer July evening?
It's hot, it's sweaty, it is all sorts of different things. Holy shit, walking home, holy man, it's so humid outside.
Yeah, I actually have a box fan running behind my head, so if it gets too loud, let me know and I'll turn it off. But
Air conditioner right here.
yeah,
With the
so
condenser, it's picking up everything, so...
I think it should be okay, but if it does get too loud, just let me know.
Okay, so why are we here? So, in case no one knows about the anxiety Shadowcast I did with Luna, with Brian Delphin, and Aurora Peachy, go check that out. I'll post a link in the description below this video. After I recorded this, Amber here had informed me, and I don't know how I missed it, that she wanted to be included in it, and I felt bad about leaving her out. So, I wanted to give her the opportunity, and let's be honest here. This is gonna have maybe some sensitive issues that we might address. So please be advised that if you are suffering from any of these things, please, I'm not really sure how to word it in such a way that it makes it like just it's nothing to be afraid of. It's not a disorder or anything like that. So that having been said, Amber, you seem to be a happy person. You seem to be a terrifically smiling face and all this. What, uh, what makes you panicky? What, how have you had anxiety more or less for about, lack of a better phrase?
Most of my anxiety stems from social situations. Um, which a lot of people on the internet are like, "What are you talking about? You make videos like you're always social with all of us." I find I can't do it in person, like face to face, without getting panicky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know what it is. It's social anxiety, so I always just assume that people are thinking the worst or like talking about you behind your back, and just it really like incapacitates me to the point where I don't really like to go out unless I'm with a small group of friends that I know really well, and even then I don't like it to be more than like two or three people, just because big groups I always feel like break off into smaller groups, and I don't know how to like enter conversations that are already going, so I just find it hard to make those connections, and also just to talk to people in social settings. I don't know. I think
So
that about
it's more of if you're online, if you're behind a computer or stuff like that, you are able to talk to people just fine. But when you're in person, it seems though it's a little tougher because it's a face to face. You're right there with that person, and it makes it a little tougher.
exactly.
What's the, if you can go more in depth about what the issue is with maybe afraid that people are talking to you when your back's turned or when you're not around them. What is the, how do you, what's the source of something like that?
The source, I actually have no idea, honestly. When I was little, I was extremely outgoing and not shy at all. I would talk to anyone. I would put on shows for my family and friends. Somewhere in elementary school, I think something must have happened, and I have a little bit of an inkling what it was. I have a very specific memory of me and my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day. We were doing something really ridiculous, like during our downtime in elementary school. Like we had like indoor recess, because in Michigan we have indoor recess when it's really cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing something, and I remember a certain moment we looked over and these two other girls were making fun of us for doing whatever it was we were doing. I can't remember now, but like that stuck with me. That memory sticks with me so like vividly, like I can see it so clearly. And I think that sort of thinking that people are making fun of you or have bad things to say about you, are like, she's so annoying or she's so weird, it prevents me from moving past that like mental block and actually making those connections.
Yeah, I've in a way I felt the same way every time that, like, when I'm walking home or I'm doing something else outside the house or whatever. I feel as though, because of, like, I've always thought about sound of my voice. It's not really that masculine. I understand that, but also about, like, my weight figure is not really the best in the world either, and of course my physique is not the best either. And I sometimes, like, kind of think that, okay, what is he? What? Who is this guy? He looks weird and stuff like that, or he talks weird, and even in when on the internet and stuff like that, when I put my whole stuff out there, when I put my videos out there, I sometimes feel as though when I put something out there, and I was gonna post something on SoundCloud about this, but I figured I'd say this now, that when I post something on, like, YouTube, my whole thing is how people going to perceive it. What are people going to think about it? How are people going to view it? And I always worry about that. It's not necessarily not having fun with the videos. It's just be wondering, okay, how are people look at me?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that's the same way with you, and I wonder if that's the same with most people who post videos online, of if that little feeling, even though we do these things for fun or whatever, there's always that little, like, devil in your head saying these people might be talking about you, they might be making fun of you, and you don't know it.
Mm-hmm. I think there's always that sort of hesitation when it comes to uploading things and putting yourself out there on the internet. Weirdly, I don't worry about that much, which is so strange to me because I worry about it so much when it comes to like actual interpersonal relationships and friendships. I don't know. I feel like I think it's sort of the same way that people do say terrible, horrible things about people on the internet. You're kind of like behind a screen. It's like a shield almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously, I don't go around making horrible anonymous comments about people that you know of. I'm just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, on the flip side of that, I do feel like it's sort of like a shield. Like these people can't touch me. Like it's not that they're not important to my like everyday life, because of course all of my subscribers and viewers are hugely important to me and what I do, but it's also kind of like it's probably a small minority, and I get so much great feedback, but that I know that it's a small minority. And I wish that I could take that like attitude that I have about making videos and like apply it to the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would just make everything so much easier.
Yeah, I forgot what I was about to say now. When I've like like with the reactions, I always like, oh, I like doing these, but I always feel so what people think of me, because I'm putting my face out there when I'm doing that. When I'm doing like a gameplay video or something like that, or I'm doing a special report, whatever, my face is not there, so you focus more on like what's on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Where I think maybe when people do stuff like that, they're not putting their face there, I think maybe it's not as nerve-wracking to know, like, to be able to put stuff out there, because maybe you don't have a visual representation of who that person is.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting that you say that, because I actually get more nervous about doing just audio voiceover videos. Like my top 10 videos, I always record. I actually like write out a script of what I'm going to say and then
Mm-hmm.
read the script for like the actual list part. And that's always more nerve-wracking to me than doing like the intro and outro where I'm actually in front of the camera. And I'm not sure why that is. I just feel more comfortable when I can just look at the camera and talk, and I don't know. I'm like the opposite in that regard, and I don't really know why.
Yeah, I maybe it's because you like maybe because you're in more of like theater type setting. Maybe because you like doing stage work. Maybe that's perhaps why you're more comfortable in that sort of setting. As to where with me, I'm not sure. Maybe it was more of stage fright as well.
Mm-hmm.
To where when I'm putting my face out there, I'm a little nervous, and there's a Twitch streamer that I frequent on her chats on Twitch chats all the time, when she actually said she had stage fright in her life, and she got over that, and you would never notice it by watching her, because she puts her face out there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and when she said that, I thought, you know what, that might be a little bit what I feel a little bit when I put my face out there. I mean, because whenever I'm just watching TV by myself, or there's no one's looking at me, I'm like doing like cheering, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But when I'm putting my face out there, all of a sudden, like, oh my god, what people gonna think? And I work through it, but it's tough. Mm-hmm. It is tough to do that, and I think maybe you're, as you said, you were the opposite of that, because you work more in the theater world.
That could be definitely part of it. I'm not a performer.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to school for directing, and not acting. So it's still a very hands-on social part of the theater, but it's not like I am an actress who likes to be on stage. I do like to be on stage once I know my lines. Like, I don't like to improv. I'm terrible at it. And that's funny, because most of my videos I'm doing I don't have a set script. The only ones I write scripts for are the top 10 ones. So.
Yeah, I don't do scripts either. And I think the reason why is because when I do like what I think, I like to go by what I do in my head, and my first reaction to whatever goes on. And when I do a special report, is always, okay, this is what I think, and usually when I plan stuff out, it never goes the way I want it to. So
yeah, I mean, that's just part of the deal.
Mm-hmm. This might get a little bit personal, and I apologize if it is. As people may know, you are a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
How much does that factor into whatever anxiety you might have, or does that at all?
Very little, if anything. Most of my anxieties have nothing to do with that part of who I am. And I think that I'm very fortunate in that regard, because I grew up in a very liberal city, where I am right now, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I moved from Ann Arbor and moved to New York City, which is like very liberal. And so that's always just been like not a big deal. Like, it's totally a non-issue. And I'm very, very fortunate in that regard. That I don't think has ever really affected me in that regard. I don't think that answers your question succinctly.
Yeah, I think it might have, and I apologize if it's a little personal, but I think maybe with some people who have that other aspect of their life, whether it be they turn out to be, if they come out, or perhaps they're feeling as though they want to, but they fear what might happen, that, and especially when they don't live in a liberal neighborhood like you do. I live in a more conservative neighborhood. I live in like a area where it's like coal country here.
Yeah.
And country mecca music stuff going on here. And you'd be hard pressed to find people who are more to the left of political things, and especially when you concern yourself with stuff like that. And I feel as though when you're in more of that kind of neighborhood, you might feel a little bit more pressured into keeping certain things inside of you because of that.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely know of people who it's just a huge source of anxiety for them. And that's unfortunate, but that is definitely the reality for most of the country, I would still say. I mean, it's becoming a little bit more 50-50, but I still think it's a little bit.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go about that. I asked the same thing I asked to Peachy and I think Luna. I don't know if I asked Brian Delphin this. Was there any point when you felt as though you had a full-on panic attack and you felt like, so I gotta get out of this situation like right now, or else I'm just gonna go crazy, or I'm just gonna pass out or something like that, where you felt as though a serious medical issue was about to happen if you didn't get out of the situation?
Not to an extent where I was like, I have to leave right now. I do get overwhelmed sometimes in social situations to the point where I want to go home. And I have gone home from social situations where I've just been like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna head out. Um, the only one I can think of, and this is more of like an emotional thing that happened than it was an anxiety thing. Although being in public made it worse, of course. I was somewhere and like something had triggered another thing that I was going through, and I was with my roommate, and I turned to her and I was like, and like I couldn't even get the words out, and then I was just like sobbing, and she like had to like walk me into the bathroom and like calm me down. That I don't think that was related to the anxiety, although of course once it started I was thinking, oh my god, there are so many people around that are watching this happen. But I don't think I've ever had a full blown anxiety caused panic attack. No.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if I recorded the anxiety part one before this happened, but I think it was after this where I think Luna's and Delphin's probably the only ones that know about this. Is that about like a couple months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, there was a issue I had with a financial situation, a major financial situation, to the point where I thought my freedom was at stake there. And a few people know what it was, and I'm not going to go into that here. But as soon as I found out that something had happened, and I was outside when I saw what had happened, my entire body just like tensed up. My heart just raced, and I was pacing back and forth. I couldn't breathe, hardly, and I was like running, like pacing in my bedroom back and forth, like holy shit, what's going on? And I was like that for like the whole weekend, up to the point where I thought like my whole life was going to come crashing down right before me. And that was the first time in a long time I feel as though I've had a full-on panic attack. I've had a full panic attack. That had nothing to do with my monophobia, which is what I deal with a lot, which is the fear of being alone and the fear of just like not having anybody you can turn to. Now, it's not as bad as, say, an extrovert like Luna was, but I have to always make sure there is somebody who is there in case I do need them. And last night I felt as though there was that feeling that I had. I posted some tweets about like I feel as though I have to apologize to somebody for offending them, but I don't know who I offended or who I have to apologize to, and I feel as though what did I do wrong? And I didn't even do anything wrong. Everything's normal. Like, what did I do? Did I do anything wrong? Did I do anything? But no one's saying that I offended anybody. So
Yeah.
It's one of those things where sometimes it's just a panic attack just from a random thing, but maybe it's more that coupled with whatever monophobia, or maybe you're an introvert like Peachy is, and maybe that's it, but or whatever else it might be. But I think that if you have something that's unrelated to what you have, and then you also worry about social situations, that may take a huge toll on you.
Exactly. And I'm definitely very introverted, unless I am with my select group of friends, and then I'm the loudest, most obnoxious person like in the room. It's like I'm saving up all of that energy, like all of that like social energy is like bubbling up inside of me, and then it finally releases when I'm with my close friends. It's so funny the way it happens.
Yeah, it's hard. In other words, it's harder for someone to break that barrier that you have. Once they break it, you're just fine, right?
Yeah, and
that's what made me.
And it's almost a one-way sort of thing. Like, it's very easy for people to, if they talk to me, I will talk to them until my face turns blue. It's the other way around that I have trouble with. I have trouble approaching and talking to people that I don't know. But if they come up to me, then we're golden. We're up and running. But I can't be the one to initiate. I have too much anxiety about the fact that maybe they don't want to talk to me. Maybe if I say hi to them, they're like, who is this? What is she doing? I remember it was something that me and my mom talked about all the time. I was like, I don't know how to make friends. And she was like, you just say hi to someone. And I was like, I can't. Like, you make it sound so easy, but it's so hard to just walk up to someone and strike up a conversation. For me, at least. For some people, it comes very naturally, but for me, they have to come to me, or else there's going to be no discussion whatsoever.
Yes. Yeah, it was like, I think it was the same with when I first wanted to talk to Peachy, because, well, she is a bigger YouTuber than like you and I are, but I mean, you're getting there to that point, but still, like 10,000 subscribers, holy shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, something like that I consider to be more of celebrity status, more along the lines of that. And when I first wanted to talk to her, like, if I talk to her, I'm nervous if something like that happened, if I say the wrong thing and she doesn't like what I do or whatever. Like that birthday video that I did for her, I was nervous as fuck about if she was going to like it, if she wasn't going to like it, if she was going to hate it. And I just posted that out there. I just went balls to the wall about it. And it was a huge huge weight lifted off my shoulders when she had loved it and she just talked to me normally. And that Friday when I had that happen, she was the first person I talked to on Friday. Now on Saturday there was something else that happened. I don't know if I should say this or not, because I don't know if YouTube's going to allow me to say it, but it got so bad that I thought that, okay, my life's not going to be worth living. And this may be a little bit too much for some people, but I talked to Luna. That's the first person I talked to, and if I hadn't done that, I don't know what I would have done. So that whole thing, and that may be something that a lot of people who have these sort of anxieties might be thinking about, like, okay, could it be too much for me to be able to live with it? And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to do a series like this on anxiety, because some people are dealing with this and they don't know what to do if you have this sort of issue. And we're not saying it's a disorder, but if it can get to an extreme, then you might need to see some outside help.
Absolutely.
And what would you say to somebody who might be in a situation similar to you that might be saying, it might be too much for me? What would you suggest to them to do?
Well, I would definitely suggest that they look into finding someone to talk to, a professional to speak to. I know that it's easier said than done, especially with insurance and the state of the healthcare, especially in America. But I would definitely look into that, because I've had to look into that, and I've actually never gotten as far as actually talking to someone, but I have considered it and I have looked into it several times over, particularly in the last 4 years, because of everything that's happened in my personal life in the last 4 years, which I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm sure people know at this point because I've talked about it several times. But I would say that they are absolutely not correct in the assumption that their life is not worth living, or that there's nobody that they can talk to. I would let them know that they can talk to me anytime they need to talk to someone about it, because there are people who feel the same way that they do. And you may not feel like it at the time, you may feel like you're completely alone in that feeling, but you're not. And I would definitely want to be able to reach out to them and talk to them if they are feeling that way, because there is always like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which is a terrible metaphor in this case, but the sentiment still stands.
Found gold.
There is another side after the storm. You just have to push through it, and if you've made it this far, you can keep going. Is how I look at it. That's how I approach life. Like I've been through this and this and this. I can get through the rest of this. Like, it's not a problem. You just have to have that mindset and just keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, look at I'm once again, and we are back. Sorry about that. It's getting dark outside. So anyway, let me get to what I was about to say. Look at to those people who think that, okay, this is way too much for me to go through, look at, first of all, the circle of friends that I ended up getting just by doing these videos, doing the reactions. I've said so many times of what motivated me to start the Sailor Moon Crystal stuff is by, to prove to a popular person known as Nostalgia Critic that this is a popular series. People really love this series. And I just started it really, really randomly. And look where we are now. I got to meet you. I got to meet Peachy. I got to meet Alkira, Omar, Jason, Felicia. How can I forget them? But look how easy it was to just make all these friends, and just by doing something you like. And that's another thing that I would say people would do if they feel as though they're way anxious. Just take a step back and breathe and find a way to get your mind off it. Listen to music. Like what I do, I always play a game or whatever and watch a television show that you like or a movie that you like. And when you come back, it just says, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was, because it's just in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing. It's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we all fail to do that. I fail to do that sometimes. But it's one of those things where, okay, it's just something you're making up. It's something, not like we're making up the anxiety, but we're making up these situations that come because we're so scared of what might happen.
Exactly.
And, so is there any other thing you want to add to this?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure I will think of things as soon as we're done, as I always do.
Same with me.
Nope. Nope. I have nothing unless you have something else you want to talk about. The first thing I want to say is that I want to make this into some sort. I'm really considering make this into a sort of a series of videos dealing with anxiety, where I have people on who can express what they feel when they're anxious and when they're feeling panicked, or what kind of anxiety they feel like they have. So if anybody wants to join in this whole thing here we have going on here, so just go ahead and give me send me a tweet or whatever, JD Shadow at JD Shadow. All of our Twitters are down below, by the way. And I'll see what I can do to get people on. And the last thing I usually do on the Shadowcast is let our guests plug their content. So, Amber, plug yourself. Plug myself. Okay, well.
Which that's got dirty, but okay.
Well, while we were doing this, a video of mine just finished encoding, which is the very first episode of my Madoka Magica video podcast series. So it's called Shadowcast, and it should be up within an hour or so once I upload it.
It'll be here. You'll probably see it by the time that you see this.
Yeah, that will probably. Yeah. I'm sure one will come before the other, but regardless, it will be up or is up. Who knows? This just got really convoluted. Anyway, very first episode, I know that you guys are Madoka Magica fans because he's done a reaction series, so I know that you guys have seen it. And if you have not, make sure you go see it because they were very entertaining.
What the hell's wrong with you if you haven't seen it yet?
And the very first episode, it's about an hour long. They're probably all going to be about an hour long. The first episode is all about Homura. So there's a lot of good discussion in there. And I want to get those out weekly. And so that's my big project right now, is working on Shadowcast. And I have other videos on my channel. Obviously, Sailor Moon Crystal reactions are finite for the time being. But I have a lot of other things that are in the pipeline. So make sure you check out my channel. I'm Gaylor Moon on YouTube. And I'm sure the link will be somewhere. So
yeah, we'll make sure it is. as you guys probably know who I am by now, you're on the channel, so why are you wondering? Special report, I'm doing Witcher 3 right now. I'm thinking of doing Hotline Miami, and speaking of Monica Magica, I am probably the last person on Earth. All the reactors are probably going to be doing a Rebellion reaction, and hit me up with the Modicast whenever.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And yeah, again, if anybody wants to be a part of any Anxiety Shadowcast, please let me know. I'm pretty sure I have someone in mind who I might want to talk to. The person that was on the Twitch stream, I don't know if I can get her because she's a bigger person, but we'll see what we can do with that. So, in any event, thank you very much. Are we having problems here? Are you able to see me?
Are we having problems here?
I don't know. It's saying internet.
I can see you.
Internet. Okay. It just said internet connection problem. I thought I lost connection there. That's good. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, Amber. I really do appreciate it for being here. I'm going to sign up before this gets any worse with my internet. I don't know what's going on here. Thank you.
Good deal. Thanks for having me.
My name is Shady Shadow, and that just happened.